Retirements. I'm seeking a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, we're requesting for closed session pursuant to state statutes, preliminary discussion regarding potential litigation, 19.85G. I'm seeking a motion to enter a closed session.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Thank you very much. All right, to begin with, I'm going to read this off to let people know what this meeting is and what it's all about. So bear with me and listen carefully why we are here tonight. Welcome to Wausau's Committee of the Whole. The purpose of this committee is to hear information as presented by the administrative team, discuss the information that was presented, and determine the most appropriate action to take. These actions include voting to move the topic to the next board meeting, regular board meeting, or voting that the topic will not be moved to the next board meeting. Between the committee meeting and the board meeting, the board may ask for more information to be presented and given by the administrative team. The board may solicit information from the constituents, or the board may deliberate on the information that was presented. During the board meeting, the school board will take official action on agenda items that have been moved on from committee meetings, and then moving it forward to the regular meeting. So at this point in time, I'm calling to order. It is Monday, February 23rd, 2026, and I am calling the Committee of the Whole meeting to order. I'm seeking a motion to approve the minutes of January 26, 2026.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I'm asking to approve the audit of the bills. This should be a motion, correct? I'm seeking a motion to approve the audit of the bills.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item 4, Excellence in Action, Wausau School District Planetarium. Planetarium Coordinator, Mr. Christopher Jansen, will share the exciting things that are happening in the planetarium. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you, Mr. Jansen, for being here.
Thank you very much. Is this okay? You guys can hear me all right? Okay. Oh, look at that. Thank you so much, Cassie. All right, I'm gonna get my speech out here, my glasses. Hey, thank you all for the opportunity to talk to you this evening. Thanks to Kurt for sharing the evening with me. And thank you, Cassie, for all your help to get this set up. My name is Chris Jansen. I'm the director of the planetarium. This is my 26th year. And I don't normally dress like this on parent-teacher conferences, but it's a very special night. I'm never going to have a quorum of the board in my dome. I haven't so far in 26 years, and it probably will never happen again. So to have you all together in my dome, that's a special night. So I had to dress up. And also, my theme for this evening's talk is we can really have nice things. So let's see. It is on, okay. I grew up in an extremely poor family, and I had dreams like other kids, and I was always told we couldn't afford things. And so when you're told that, you have to get really creative, and you have to make things yourself. And so are planetariums truly only for big cities? We can't afford one. Uh-oh. Thank you. No, we can really have nice things. That's the theme we're going for. So I thought I'd start with what is a planetarium? Fundamentally, it's a place that models the sky for people to study and enjoy. These places are deeply embedded in our social DNA. The very first cave paintings found here in Lascaux, France, were probably images of the constellation Taurus the Bull. Next slide. Passage tombs like Newgrange in Ireland were constructed so that the morning sun rays would enter through the doorway on only one day a year, the winter solstice. Incredible engineering that predates the Great Pyramids of Giza. The Druids of ancient England noticed the sun always rose and set in different positions on the horizon. They constructed Stonehenge to mark positions that predicted seasonal changes to better prepare their people for winter survival. The first location to use the term planetarium dates back to 1774 in the Netherlands. The entire building is a giant mechanical model of the solar system, and it is still operational today. Only 100 years ago, in 1925, the first modern optical mechanical planetarium system was invented, and soon after, the first American was installed in Chicago's Adler Planetarium in 1930. With Sputnik's launch in 1957, America realizes it needed to increase our science skill levels, so federal education grants were created to fund planetariums in new schools. We can really have nice things. 56 years ago, Wausau was in the planning stages for this very building. Your predecessors, utilizing this grant, added a free planetarium. You will see our original optomechanical star projector in the display case tonight on your tour. Rapid advances in technology made a digital planetarium. It was new with incredible power to fly anywhere in the known universe, but the huge repeating price tag destroyed any realistic chance to get one. As a much younger part-time planetarium director in 2004, I used my Herb Kohl Award to build our own 4 or 5% of that big cost. We can have really nice things. It worked, and it was approved upon. And in 2015, the Walter Alexander Foundation provided major funding to upgrade the planetarium to its current state. We had a better version of our custom projection system that you will see for yourself this evening in action. So how is the planetarium funded? The district provides a person, me, stars, custodial support, but no annual budget. I'm very grateful to Reiner Mansky for the $2,500 he provides annually to keep the stars on, and to the West custodians for their top-notch care. All other costs, including computers, equipment, maintenance, must be raised via grants and usage fees for non-district guests. So outside schools are charged $3 per student, private groups are $4 per person, and public programs, usually Friday nights, are $6 per person. So how is the planetarium used? There are approximately 1,200 public schools in Wisconsin. Only 4 of them have planetariums. There's another 8 within universities and museums. But most Wisconsin planetarium schools have an a la carte program system. Wealthier or closer schools get to visit more. Our school district is different. We guarantee that every child receives 7 unique visits during their 4K through 8th grade year that is directly linked to their classroom curriculum. So this curriculum table, right now in February, we're having the 4K kids visit, and that's fun. That is fun. They're excited when they can just zip up their coat. It's to go from that to like AP Physics is interesting. I really enjoy them a lot. So over the course of a year, we get to see 4K, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, 5th grade, 6th, 7th, 8th, and then in 9th through 12th, it varies by course. If we had to bus kids further away to a larger city for this kind of experience, it would cost well over $100,000 annually, and I suspect we just simply wouldn't do it, and kids would just lose out. So the next slide shows annual visitors over time, and I am particularly gratified by this graph. 26 years ago, the planetarium was in pretty rough shape. Over the years, though, both the total visitor count has increased and the diversity of schools has increased. So today, if you look all the way to the right, you can see the red and the green is public visitors, so about 1/3 of the visitors through the planetarium, and you can see the total number, just about 11,000 visitors per year to our planetarium, 1/3 of which are public, 1/3 are secondary, and then 1/3 are from outside the district. So, I'm sorry, 1/3 elementary, 1/3 secondary, and 1/3 from outside the district. So you can see it growing over time. I'm super excited about that graph. So where do these extra district visitors come from? So this is a map. The purple dots are our schools, and the red dots are other schools that visit the planetarium on an annual basis. So this is our area, our citywide area. You can see they come from DC Everest. If we zoom out to central Wisconsin, we can see as far as Antigo, Merrill, Athens, Marshfield, Medford are regular users of the planetarium. So we get to see people even from quite a ways away. If you zoom up to the final map, it shows the entire state of Wisconsin. We have people coming from like Ematoma, Eagle River, Minocqua, Three Lakes. I mean, they're driving hours, hour and a half to get here for the planetarium. So it's super exciting. So the conclusion is that the planetarium has 10,000 annual visitors usually. It raises its own maintenance and programming funds. It is truly a victory. It is a dream made real by many people over the years, proving that we can have really nice things. And I look forward to showing it off to you later on your tour. You could stop by the planetarium, and they told me, Cassie said 5 minutes, and I said, I will do 5 minutes. So I'll stick with that, but I'll hopefully answer your questions at any time, or thank you. I rely on Cassie if she.
We look forward to flying away. Questions from the board?
Yeah, if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Questions or comments?
I don't have not a question, but just a comment that the shows that run on usually Friday nights are awesome. So if you want a really easy way to support the district, it's a inexpensive way to go to a movie with your kids if there's a movie being shown. And it's really cool when you're running the shows. It's educational and really neat to see at the same time. And again, the money goes to support the planetarium. So anybody who hasn't done it, I would really encourage you to do it. It's a lot of fun.
And I'm still using your picture of Comet House.
That was a good one.
It's a beautiful picture. And so, can you show me a picture of a comet? I said, look at this, a picture from our old school. So, pretty fun.
I haven't seen any royalties.
100% of all that we make.
All right, that sounds good.
Lawyers will follow up on that. Be careful.
Do we charge fees to external entities to come in and use the planetarium?
Yes, we do. Schools that come is $3 per student. For private groups like birthday parties or scouts, we charge $4. And then on Friday night public shows, it's $6. Yep. Sorry, it's late behind that.
Any other follow-up? If not, Mr. Jansen, thank you very much for presenting that, and we'll see you later.
Sounds great. We'll see you guys later.
At this time, I'd like to turn the table or the stage to Mr. Kurt Richard, Principal of Wausau West, to show us and let us know what's happening here in this beautiful building.
Good evening and welcome to Wausau West. We're really excited to have you here tonight. I have with me three amazing students. Maddie Butler is a senior, Leanna Oldenburg Marsh is a senior, and Logan Strong is a junior. And they'll get the mic here in a second. Just some new things that we have implemented here at Wausau West that I think are really neat. Golden Apple Award, that is something that we started to do this year. We asked students to nominate teachers who make a difference in their day, whether it's through their passion for teaching, the way they support students, or the extra effort they put into creating a positive school environment. On the left-hand side there, Sam Smolviak, Alice Peraza, and Marilyn Liberty were our Q1 recipients. Our Q2 recipients, Brianna Wright, Vince Brady, and Jason Kruger. And students have amazing things to say about our teachers. On the right-hand side there, Cassie, you might recognize that young man. Warriors of the Quarter, students of the quarter are recognized for outstanding qualities, both in and out of the classroom. These students demonstrate strong academic effort and growth. They maintain a positive attitude, show leadership, show responsibility, and model good citizenship. They serve as a role model by making a positive impact through their character, effort, and behavior. Each department selects a student from any grade level who best represents these values, and these chosen students receive a certificate and is featured on our Warrior of the Quarter wall, which is out in our new foyer, which we will show you in a little bit. So there's Jimmy Peck. Next slide. So this year we implemented a new cell phone policy. State legislature is saying that moving forward, every school district will need to have that, and we got ahead of the game a little bit, have implemented a new cell phone policy, and we've found great success with it. The ideas behind the new cell phone policy is to promote meaningful student, teacher, and peer conversations, increase engagement with classroom learning objectives, and encourage face-to-face collaboration and build our communication skills. And we have seen that happen in our classrooms. When we compared our semester 2 data from last year, 2024-2025, to our semester 1 grades this semester, we saw a decrease in Fs by 10%. So we have really seen an engagement in the classroom, and it's been outstanding. Next up will be Maddie.
Hi, my name is Madeline Mudler. I'm a senior here at West. These are just some of the things that I'm involved here at West. We have jazz band, brass band, I'm in cheer, warrior power, track. I'm an officer for Letters of Love, an officer for Raise Your Voice. I'm a member of Link Crew, National Honor Society, and I am a band member of the Pop Concert, which you might have seen before. If we look at the next slide, one of the many things that I like about Wausau West is that we have such a variety of things that we offer here. So outside of just sports and academics, we have all of these clubs and activities. And as you can see, the list is pretty extensive. So no matter what you're interested in, you can find something here that aligns with your passions, and you can grow in what field you want to grow in. So if we look at the next slide, not only do we have so many clubs and activities, they're also doing so well in the fields that they are in. Just looking at this list here, we have $2,000 raised for our food pantry from the Penny Wars hosted by NHS over our Homecoming Spirit Week. Once Upon a Mattress, our fall musical, was nominated for 10 Jerry Awards. We had 5 students place second or first in the Skills USA District 2 competition. FCCLA raised 280 items and $250 from their giving tree for the Hager House. Many students, artists, have art hanging in Leoki Woodson Art Museum, and our AP students will have an installation in the next month. We have 43 DECA state qualifiers who are competing this weekend. West Express won gold level certification through National DECA, and the managers are Tyler Wendell, Ella Fabry, and Brinley Collender. The Science Olympiad team won medals in 13 events and placed 4th overall at regionals. We have even more too. Polar plunge for the Special Olympics, we had HASA that raised over $700 and DECA that raised over $1,675. HOSA regional competition, Angie Yang, Jennifer Yang, Bianca Vang, and Phoebe Bonko received gold in health education, and Logan Zhang over here received bronze for nursing assisting. FCCLA regional competition, we had 14 state qualifiers, and mock trial regional competition, the varsity is headed to state. So as you can see, we have so much to offer here at West, and they're all doing so well in what they're pursuing.
Hi. Hi, I'm Leanna Oldenburg Marsh. I'm an athlete here at Wausau West mainly. I did cheer for 3 years here, and then I'm starting my 4th year of track within this next year. I was the president of the Black Student Union last year, but this year we don't have it up and running, so I'd like to see that getting going within this next year probably. Go to the next slide. Within the fall season, we had 9 athletes qualify for the state meets, being 6 swimmers that qualified for the state meet, and then a tennis doubles team that qualified for state, and then as well as 1 cross-country runner that qualified. And then our football team qualified for the playoffs. And then in our fall season, in our winter season, then we had 3 girls golfers win the academic all-state, and then we had girls wrestlers being Ailey Lee, Maddie Lee, and then Lana Bronchart that qualified for conference, and they were conference champs actually. And then Blake Mell advanced to state in wrestling as well. And then in boys hockey, then we had Cooper DePoy, who was a finalist in state, it says, and then as well as they were conference champs in that, and then our girls team was as well. And then we had Maddie Kelter, who was a conference champ, I think, as well. And then for boys basketball, playoffs start March 6th, and then girls basketball plays tomorrow at Eau Claire North, and then boys and girls curling has the state tournament next weekend. So, yeah, and Logan.
Hello, okay, so my name is Logan Zhang and I'm a junior at Wausau West. I'm in HASA, HOSA, FCCLA, Link Crew, Rising Phoenix, Student Council, and Ski Club, also and WEOP. So something that makes West really great is the diversity. So having many different diversity here at West allows students to feel seen, wanted, and heard. So just recently, Angie isn't here right now, but me and Angie hosted a Hmong event and egg roll making here at Wausau West in the new foods room, which you guys will see during the tour. And not only did I get to organize this event, I also learned life skills here at Wausau West that I can use in the future. And yeah, so other school news. Madame Torkelson named 2026 WAFT Teacher of the Year. Nancy Zhang named 2025 Professional of the Year. Education Division of Central Wisconsin Hmong Professionals Awards Ceremony. PubLab Columbia Scholastic Press Association recognized Warriors Word Magazine as gold medalist rating in the national judging. Senior Mallory Smogolewski received a certificate of merit from the Society of Women Engineers at Michigan Tech. Microsoft Office students at Wausau West had the opportunity to earn dual credit and industry recognized certification in each of the 3 applicants. 31 students passed the Microsoft PowerPoint certification exam. 14 Wausau West Early Child Care Services students received their State of Wisconsin DPI Assistant Child Care Teacher certification this semester as well. So you guys can also follow us on social media at Facebook, Wausau West High School, and Wausau West Warriors on Instagram.
I just wanted to also mention on the table, you have a copy of the Warrior Word. That is something that our students publish quarterly. So take a look at that. It's really great. The students do an amazing job with that, and they take a lot of pride in that. So thank you. We look forward to the tour here in a little bit. And that's it.
Mr. Richard, thank you for bringing our students to us to let them talk to us about what they're doing. I'm very impressed with the amount of clubs and the sports programs and the academic clubs that our students are involved with. So keep up the good work. Greatly appreciate that. Other comments from board members? Thank you very much for being here. Greatly appreciate it. All right, it is the time to have public comments. Let's see if we have anyone that wants to talk to us. Nobody wants to talk to us tonight. Okay, with that, we'll continue on. Five-year fiscal forecast. The board will be presented with a 5-year fiscal forecast model for the district. The projection model will continue to be applied during the next 3 months to aid in constructing the 2026-2027 budget reconciliation plan and ultimately the 2026-27 budget. It is critical to understand that the projections are the result of many variables that independently change periodically. As significant changes to the projections occur, administration will bring them to the attention of the board. So with that, Bob, take it over.
And just before Bob jumps in, Elizabeth would be presenting to us, but Elizabeth traveled to New York with Montessori and is stranded in New York because of the blizzard weather out there. So she regrets being here. She would be doing WebEx, but we are not capable of doing that here. So Bob is an ample replacement. We're glad to hear that he's here for us.
Better than to have snow out there than here.
Yeah.
I agree. So what you see in board book is a repeat from what you saw about a month ago. You did not take action on all the assumptions that we built into the projection model, but I repeated them just so you see what the assumptions that we made were that caused the projection model to yield what it did. With a couple of changes, I highlighted them in red, or actually Elizabeth highlighted them in red. One change that we made, we met with M3, our health insurance consultant, and instead of 8%, 642, we upped that to a 10% more realistic increase in premiums for the coming year, and then 8, and then 6, and then 4 and 4. So that's just a little bit more realistic. And again, these are just the initial assumptions that we build into the model. Obviously, they can be changed, and the assumptions will need to be changed if we're going to have a balanced budget. You're going to see in a little while. Another change we made is per contract with our first student busing, the next 5 years are 4% increases. I believe we initially put 3 or 2.5 in there, so that should be 4%. Other than that, this is just repeating what we shared with you about a month ago. This is what we used to build the model. The model itself uses all of those factors and literally dozens and dozens and dozens of other data points. And we have a pretty sophisticated model called Frontline Budget Projection Tool, and we feed all the assumptions in, and we see what comes out. And I've shared a few of those documents with you. I'm going to point to some of the more important data points on these documents. I'm not going to go through every one of them. That would take too long. It'd be gruesome to go through. History, just to have it there for you. We have the last 5 years of history so you can compare it to what's happening going forward. Here is the projection summary. Probably the most important number out of all of them that I'm going to share with you is the one you see right here. That is if our projections hold true and all of our assumptions happen, our next year budget is going to be out of balance in the bad direction by about $1.693 million. So roughly $1.7 million is what we have to reconcile or find a combination of increased revenue, maybe decreased expenses. There might be some increase in expenses as well if we're going to fund additional programs, but that's going to be a lot of our work over the next 3 months. The budget reconciliation exercise that we'll all go through, and you'll see it as a board probably in May, maybe in April. We'll have a budget reconciliation plan for how we balance that $1.7 million. Again, that's probably the most important data point that you're going to see tonight from this presentation. Another one that's relatively important has to do with our tax rate and how much we plan on taxing. You'll notice from current year, fiscal year ending 2026 to 2027, taxes are going to go up from $23.2 million to $25.6 million. Now, it's important to understand that that's the tax rate only for the general fund. The general fund taxes are expected to go up by that much. And the reason why, you probably heard a little bit about this last year. You're certainly going to hear about it more this year. I know our neighboring school districts are in the news a lot for this happening. The revenue limit went up, but the state aid didn't go up. So we all know that the revenue limit is made up of state aid and local taxes. And when the revenue limit goes up, we can raise more revenue for all of our programming. But if the categorical aid or the state aid doesn't go up to match it, it falls on local taxpayers. Now, generally speaking, that's bad news because we want the whole state to share in the burden, not just our local taxpayers. But at the same time, from what we're doing in Fund 39, which is our debt retirement for referendum bonds that we're paying off, we have some flexibility because we're in the middle of about a 7-8 year strategy for prepaying some of that debt, and that's that final lever that we can manipulate to make our taxes stay the same. There are many local school districts, I read about them all in the paper when I was retired, and then I came back and I was glad to see we're still doing the defeasance strategy. We were protected from that because we have the ability to drop our Fund 39 levy when our Fund 10 levy is expected to go up. And we're certainly expected to have that conversation again, and we'll do that once again. So our overall mill rate is expected to stay pretty flat again, in spite of the fact that our Fund 10 mill rate is going to go up. More on that in the coming months, I'm sure.
So Bob, basically, the legislators are coming back and saying, if you want that to be raised, you can raise it, but it's going to be local control.
Yes, and because it's a second year of a 2-year biennial budget, that decision has already been made. But yes, revenue limit will go up, but the state isn't going to provide any more, so it falls on the local taxpayers. And in our case, it will also fall on the local taxpayers, but we have the advantage of having that lever with the Fund 39 tax going down to offset the Fund 10 tax going up.
So pushing for the comment, we want local control has kind of backfired. You don't have to say anything on that.
Backfired more for other districts in our neighborhood than it did for us, but yes.
Yeah.
This isn't working, Cassie, but maybe I got too far away. There it is. All right. Another one that, a data point or two that might be important. If we keep going down to Fund 27, that's our special ed fund. And in special ed, there's some historical data, and here's some data going forward. Our operating transfer in, anything we're short in Fund 27 in meeting our expenses has to be picked up with a transfer from Fund 10 to 27. So in Fund 27, we have programming, we have staff, we have salaries, we have benefits. They all go up just like anything else in our budget. One thing that's happening in Fund 27 is the special ed reimbursement percent is not going up. So what happens when the revenue coming into Fund 27 doesn't go up, but all of our expenses with salary and benefits and any other programming does go up? More has to come from Fund 10. So the Fund 10 burden for funding Fund 27 gets greater and greater and greater because what's being matched by the state doesn't keep up. And we're seeing that trend again. So you see the interdistrict transfer 10.8 million, then 11.2 million, 11.5 million, 11.9 million. It keeps going up. And unless something happens at the state level where we get more sped aid, that will continue. Okay, so I wanted to call that out. Aside from that, I don't want to gloss over all the data, but really there isn't enough time to go through all of it. Those were the key points. I certainly will entertain questions if you have any for me. I've been studying this for the last month or two. I had stepped away for a little while, so maybe some historical perspective, maybe between Kale and myself, and Noel is here, we can answer your questions for you. Does not take action. This is just for your reference.
Bob, on the special education part, I believe in the state budget, we were supposed to go up to 40%. And we talked a few weeks back about, well, last time you presented this to us, we talked about it being at 37. You made those adjustments in our assumptions?
No, it is 40 right now, but the first reconciliation plan, there will be acknowledgement of whatever it lands on. We'll learn as much as we can from the state, but technically it is still 40. So if we drop that to 30, that might be the first line on the reconciliation plan, and it will obviously hurt us, right? It won't help us going from 40 to 30, but we're still open to the possibility that it might be 40, but we can certainly change that right away.
Okay.
It's 40 in here.
And that's for the more broader definition of the special education. I thought there was another special needs, the high needs students that was also passed at 90%. Did that come to fruition?
I can't say if it did or not. It's a smaller dollar amount. We can look deeper into the numbers to make sure that our that categorical aid goes up with what's been published.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions?
Do you see next year's quoting for busing going down with trending fuel data? Because the last 4 years had, obviously the significant increase, and if they're correlating their data off of that rather than the current standing or the expectations for the upcoming year of fuel costs would significantly lower, So are they presumptively giving you maybe a lesser quote for the next year, or, because I just saw the 4%
Sure.
kind of tacked on each year?
The 4% is what's in the contract for per route, per trip, all the costs. We actually buy the fuel. So we could probably go in and adjust that fuel percent increase, which is not the 4, that's a separate one. Fuel for transportation, I think it's labeled in the budget. But we can get more aggressive with routing students, become more efficient and spend less fuel. And then per gallon amount for fuel, we can adjust down also. That would be another great reconciliation item. Maybe that might be listed as item number 2.
And we've the reason we have it set up that way is because we're a big enough district that we buy enough fuel that it allows us to buy fuel at the right times. So you can't always time it out right, but one of the things we try to do is to buy it when the costs are lower, try to help save some money.
Other questions? If not, thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. Next item on the agenda, AGR mid-year update, data trends and systemic improvements. This presentation provides the board with mid-year AGR student outcome scores required by the DPI. In addition to the sharing screening results, the report will feature the work being done in each of our 3 AGR schools to strengthen organizational systems. The update will demonstrate how these schools are evolving their practices to improve the student achievement. So, take it away.
Great. Thank you so much. It's great to be here this evening. We've got our team of professionals here. This time around, as was mentioned, twice a year we are required to bring forth to you a lens around how our AGR schools are performing. And so we usually come in February and again in June to update you on some of our student outcome scores. We thought we'd broaden the perspective this year with a few other of my esteemed colleagues and professionals working with and for and servicing students and families in these schools. To give you a little bit broader perspective of some of the initiatives, priorities, and a little bit of context around some of the outcome scores that you will also see as part of Board Book this evening. So to each one of us will be introducing a little bit as we come up, but I'm Julie Schell, the Director of Elementary Education, and I have with me this evening a range of professionals. We have, at the district level, it's our job to do our due diligence to provide that leadership, that mission and vision around what's happening in our schools, provide that level of research-based practices, and all of those structural and procedural and process and practices pieces that are so critical to the impact on our schools. We also have some district level coordinators here with us this evening, as well as our boots on the ground professionals and our principals who are working with these teams. So I'm really happy to have all of this team of professionals here with me this evening, working and sharing some of this information with you. So as you know, this is not an action item, this is really an information sharing item, but AGR is our achievement gap reduction program that provides us that class size reduction. It started out as the SAGE program, as many of you know, in 1995-96. I was actually a principal at Grant when we had one of our first schools in 1997 and 98, coming into the SAGE world, and in 2017-18, it transitioned into the AGR program. It used to be a 15-to-1 class size ratio. It is now an 18-to-1. And as you can see, some of those requirements on your screens there around maintaining that 18-to-1 or 30-to-2 classroom ratio. We also provide that instructional coaching for teachers by licensed teacher, and each school, as you will see, has some performance requirements and goals that are part of our continuous improvement plan in every building, especially around math and reading, and we've listed there some of the assessments that make up some of the data that you're going to see. Now my friends are going to help us with some of this information.
All right, good evening. I am Kim Pearson, and I am the elementary math coordinator for the district. So we wanted to share some things that we are really working to accomplish as a team in the Wausau School District. So one of the things we are working with is building capacity around utilizing data to inform instruction and supports that we are offering our learners. So one of those things that we do, and is a huge part of my job, is that AVMR support and training that is provided for our teachers. So I know many times you have heard, especially if you've been here a while, you've heard AVMR. So I thought I'd give you just a little bit of background. AVMR stands for Advantage Math Recovery. There are 2 courses that I train in, and that is AVMR 1, which is early numeracy, and then AVMR 2, which goes through place value, multiplication, division, and multi-digit addition, subtraction. So it covers the gamut with K through 5. So what AVMR offers is it's a framework that really talks about not just what students know, but how they are doing things. So in the training, teachers are offered assessments and research-based models, and then instructional strategies that are all research-based that will help with conceptual understanding of number. So when we look at that, when we first started AVMR, we said right away we needed to make it a priority to really have all of our K2 and SPED staff trained in that AVMR 1 to get our kids off to a great start with that early numeracy. So as you can see here, if we look at the training that's happened already, like currently in the district, at the K2 level, we have in all our AGR schools 100% of their K2 staff trained, or they're in a current cohort with me right now. As a district, we have 98% of our K2 staff, which is wonderful, and you'll see the implications a little bit later. Our 3-5 staff, they are not in that initiative, but they are volunteering to come to these trainings. They really like them, they find them really valuable. So in 3-5 at Franklin, we have 71% of their 3-5 staff trained, Jones 50%, Jefferson 67%. So a great start in training all the way through with the K5, AVMR 1 and AVMR 2. Then we look at the SPED staff, and we have high numbers there too. There will be one number that stands out for Franklin, and that is a lower number just because of the staff turnover. So I try to catch new staff right away in the next cohort as I'm offering, but there's been a greater turnover there, so we're just trying to catch up yet. Okay, with AVMR.
I'm Lindsay Lutholtz. I'm the WACOS coordinator for the district. I'm filling in for Sandy Lewins, who is out. She is our elementary literacy coordinator. So I have the privilege to talk to you guys about our PSPs, or our personal support plans, that are coming out of Act 20 around literacy. So a little bit background with that, you'll hear a little bit more in the presentation, but coming from that, there is identified any students that flag under the 25th percentile will be guaranteed a personal support plan that provides them individual supports, individual small group supports to strengthen their literacy skills. So we just wanted to provide you with a little bit of data around those PSPs. Right now at kindergarten in our 3 AGR buildings, we had 8% of our students already exit their PSP plans. Kindergarten, you're gonna see a little bit of a lower rate because they unfortunately weren't able to exit until after this winter screener. It's due to what is required by the progress monitoring of Act 20, and so they are not able to start those progress monitoring probes until after the winter screener. So that 8% is a huge thing considering that their winter screeners just took place in January. First grade has 16% or 12 students. Second grade has 32% or 36 students. And third grade has 15% or 13 students. So those are just showing you that as they start meeting those qualifications to exit those PSPs, which means they are above the 25th percentile on their last screener, and they have reached the 30th percentile on their progress monitoring probes, they are exited from those PSPs. However, the teams have those decisions to continue those literacy supports if they want to continue those on, along with the families have input around that as well. With that, I just want to say that there's been a lot of work that's been going into those screeners and diagnostics, learning what those are kind of indicating the gaps are, and our teachers are really starting to catch on to what areas of literacy so that we can kind of personalize those plans even more to recover them and get them back up to proficiency.
And this is really just a view from a district perspective. We're really focusing on what we're calling universal practices. And those are really just high leverage, research-based practices that have proven to have the greatest impact on student achievement. And we feel like what's good for one student is good for all students in all of our schools. So we have a huge focus this year on K-12, on building teacher capacity and strategies and tools around those universal practices, which are things like accessibility, routines, scaffolding, which are really educational terms, but staff are very aware of what those items are. And they're focusing on, in professional learning, you'll see that list there of things that we are really critically focusing on to increase the capacity of our teachers. The Cox Campus training that was part of Act 20 requirements has been completed by our teachers, and now it's taking all of that learning and putting that into place. We're continuing the AVMR training. We're working with our leadership teams to continue connecting to standards, our Wisconsin standards, and what our students are expected to know and be able to do, and how do we focus our targeted skills and lagging skills that students have. How do we build teacher capacity to meet all those needs at the same time as keeping their classes moving? And we most recently had a great day in January where we offered some self-driven, self-choice professional development sessions for teachers where they could choose kind of their own path for the morning and pick what was most meaningful for them. So you can see some quotes there from that experience as well. You can go to the next one. All right, and here's where I'm just going to introduce and let them introduce themselves actually as they come up. Our three teams or individual principals who are working in each one of our AGR buildings to share a little bit about that scope of what this looks like in their buildings.
Hi, I'm Megan Korak. I am the principal at Thomas Jefferson. So as Julie talked about with those universal strategies, one of the things that Matt and I did at Thomas Jefferson this year was really push for teachers to try new universal strategies in their classroom. And then with that, we had their peers come in and observe them and collaborate, and then hopefully take some things away and use them in their own classroom. We've also asked our literacy and math coordinators, just like Kim behind me or over here, sorry, with grade levels and teachers, and providing some training and some resources for them to help meet the needs of their students within their classroom. And then lastly, our title teachers have been really strong in their knowledge and the content of what they're using in both math and reading. We're fortunate to have our title teachers be able to do both math and reading, and they're using those resources within their groups. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Phil Beck. I'm the Associate Principal at G.D. Jones. At Jones, we're prioritizing the consistent implementation of routines that support strong universal instruction. For example, we're applying the science of reading routines from our Cox Campus learning. We're beginning every math lesson with an instructional task where students warm up and explain their thinking. All of these routines are really at the core of our school improvement plan, and they're vital in bringing our staff together during consolidation. Looking at some of those, if you look at the second bullet point, we've specifically leaned into student discourse and productive struggle. When I use that term productive struggle, we're talking about that sweet spot where a task is a healthy challenge for kids. It's difficult enough to spark growth, yet it's not so hard that it leads to frustration, and finding ways to support those kids who need those extra supports. Our staff is working to master specific strategies to keep students in that right zone. And then finally, just looking at those grade level PLCs, we're tying all together within those PLCs. Our grade level teams, supported by the district math and literacy coordinators, similar to what Megan talked about at Thomas Jefferson, are constantly analyzing student data to reflect on our practice and continue to refine those instructional practices.
Hi, my name is Krista Treader, and I am the principal at Franklin Elementary. Three of the highlights that I chose for today, the first one is the peer observation and collaboration. Staff have the opportunity to volunteer to go into a classroom or have somebody else come into their classroom and observe them, and just have some professional dialogue about supporting each other and helping each other grow in an area that they're choosing to observe a colleague in. The next one would be teachers developing consistency at their grade level through the use of classroom engagement plans. Our engagement plan for each classroom aligns with our school-wide expectations. So the teacher looks at we talk about what we expect at Franklin school-wide and then how to branch off into their classroom. So we have consistency for the kids through K through 5 throughout our building and a consistent language in our building. Megan had talked about universal practices, and ours is developing a school-wide toolbox of scaffolds for both specific curricular resources and across content area. Again, this is being driven by our teachers. They're coming up with some common language of what kind of scaffolding can we do to support all levels of learners, not just the average learner, but somebody who's maybe a little bit lower on a category or a subject, and somebody who is also higher. How can we provide different scaffolds to move their learning along at a pace that works for them? So that is something the teachers have taken on to develop the language and what that looks like and how to support it as a K-5 movement throughout Franklin Elementary.
So we also wanted to take a moment just to talk about some of the things that are occur in education that are maybe a little bit outside of our control. One of those things is Act 20. With it came a lot of requirements, and we were looking through how do we utilize those requirements to just strengthen our classroom environments and strengthen our schools as a whole. So with Act 20, you've heard about already Cox Campus. That wasn't a really intentional decision that was made. There is a requirement around universal literacy, professional learning that was happening, but we had a variety of opportunities of how we go about engaging in that learning. And our literacy coordinators, both Melanie Hansen and Sandy Lewins, really were driving that kind of ship, looking at all the different options, making the informed decision around Cox Campus, and then establishing teachers in the buildings that got pre-trained throughout the summer and brought them together to also highlight what are some of the key things that we want to take away from that professional learning. With the framework alignment, there's a lot of screeners and diagnostics that are required within Act 20. But what we really wanted to do was take an opportunity to how do we utilize that and align it with our current WCOS system, which is Wausau Continuum of Supports. And so we really worked really hard on looking at what are those screeners telling us, and then what are those diagnostics telling us, and then we even established a level 3 assessments that can further dive into each of those different literacy skill areas for people to strengthen, again, those personal support plans, but also strengthen the universal instruction. So we took a lot of different time around what are the requirements, and then how do we want to use those requirements to strengthen our systems and increase our positive outcomes for students. The last one was around data precision, which was knowing that we were going to have a lot of new screeners, taking that opportunity to really support and train our staff in an ongoing way around what those screeners and diagnostics are telling us. It's not just a task of check, you did it and you're above the 25th percentile or below it, but it's also then, okay, why are we doing these diagnostics? What are these diagnostics telling us about what areas of literacy need to be strengthened, and what areas of those level 3 diagnostics should we take so that when we start, say, for example, want to write a support plan for a child around phonics, we can identify specifically what skills we want to target in that support plan. So again, just trying to continue to support and leverage our data and how our data can support us in our instruction, and then thus better student outcomes.
I'm Jen Davidson, the principal at GD Jones. So Phil talked a little bit about Jones, but something that we're also keeping in mind right now is that all 3 of the schools that are AGR have been impacted greatly by consolidation. So some of the things that we are really working on this year is making sure that our systems are in place. Our systems for addressing that academic need as we combine teachers and students and processes, making sure that we're prioritizing that community building. We're trying to develop that base with our families, fostering a unified front and belonging for everybody who steps into our school. And then on top of that, making sure that we are maximizing that federal funding, the building spaces that we've combined into, and just making sure that we're allocating everything correctly within our AGR schools.
All right, we wanted to give you a little bit of information regarding the screeners that we have. For math, we actually have 2 separate screeners. After talking with our teachers about the screeners for K1, and I think because of the background they now have with AVMR, and knowing the importance of actually listening to our younger learners, what do they really know, what can they really do? So K1 switched to doing the forefront number sense screener 3 times a year. It is a one-on-one interview-based assessment that measures forward and backward counting, structuring and number, early addition, subtraction, and place value. Okay, so they have one-on-one interviews with those kiddos. 2nd through 5th, they are still doing the iReady Math Diagnostic, which is that computer-based assessment, which assesses 4 domains in math, which are algebra and algebraic thinking, the number and operations domain, measurement and data, and geometry. So K1 interview assessments, and 2 through 5, they have the digital assessments.
All right, now we're just going to share some of our math summary scores with you. This is all buildings in the district, not just our AGR schools, but you will see, as indicated on the right-hand side there, the new norms for iReady were established in 24-25, and in this year, in the 25-26 school year, keeping in mind that kindergarten and first grade switched to the forefront screener to get more accurate results from our students. So you'll see over time, we do have some upward trends in the levels of proficiency, even though we do have a slight shift in some of the assessments that we are using in all of our buildings. Thanks, Cassie. This would be our AGR buildings summary overall. So starting in the fall of 23-24 and moving into the winter, this past winter, we just finished our screening window in January. We do see some upward trends in terms of our K-5 overall proficiency scores in math. Now we'll go 2 grade levels at a time. So you'll see we've indicated where iReady was in place and then where we switched in kindergarten and first grade to the forefront assessment so that we could get a little bit more accurate read in that interview-based assessment, as Kim mentioned. So you will see it's hard to decipher in some of these data graphs, I'll be honest, when we look at reading as well, because we've had a shift in assessment. So it will be nice if we can stick with a assessment and go with it in order to look at 5 and 6 year trends down the line, especially to see what our curricular resources and our high quality instruction is bringing us. But you do see some gains specifically in kindergarten this year, moving from forefront fall to winter, and again in first grade from fall to winter, and an overall uphill climb on both of those grade levels. Here's our second and third graders in our AGR schools again. This is using the iReady Math Diagnostic, so this is the same assessment over time, where you will see many times with these screeners and with the national norms, we see a slight dip from fall to winter. The expectations in some of those norms is many times in grade levels the largest jump between fall and winter. And then when we look at overall fall to spring, we still will see some major increases. But the way that norms work and the way that winter expectation level is with the way that our thresholds are provided, many times we do see a slight dip, even though I would not say that a 2 or 3% decline or increase is like statistically significant. That's going to be in terms of, we have a lot of kids in our district, but a handful of kids versus a large scale. So if we look at 4th and 5th grade, some gains, some nice gains again over time. You see that upward trend in that iReady Math Diagnostic in our AGR schools of proficiency levels. And I would say district-wide, we've seen some really nice math gains. And I think that also is probably can attest to utilizing a similar resource that we have in our Ready Classroom that we've had in year 5 and 6 over time K-8. And we've also seen, been using the iReady Diagnostic as the tool in that time. So as we transition here into literacy, again, our screener in literacy due to Act 20 last year became Ames Web. You will see some iReady scores in here prior. So just notice as we go through, those are the assessments that comprise the scores you're going to see in the proficiencies that are at proficient at above in the slides coming up. Again, this is all buildings in the district, including our AGR schools. Remember, the norms were changed this year. So Ames Web, we used Ames Web last year, but every company that has screeners every couple of years does a renorming nationwide. So they look at the scores nationwide and create their thresholds for proficiency based on, you know, the curve of what that looks like nationwide. So there was a shift in the nationwide norms for this school year, but you'll see the trend from iReady starting back in fall of 23 through Ames Web here. And we do see, again, an upward trend, even though there was a change in our assessment tool we are using. Next is our AGR buildings K-5. Again, you will see some at least maintaining and or uphill climb when we think about Ames Web scores. Here we have kindergarten and first grade. Again, you will see that shift. You see a difference here between the 24-25 school year and the 25-26 school year in that shift in the nationwide norms. And again, that's kind of that drop that we see, especially at kindergarten and first grade. Those expectations from fall to winter are really a big jump in what they're expecting kids to learn. And so by the end of the year, we're hoping to see that upward trend from fall happen as we have in previous years. Second and third grade are next in our AGR schools for our reading assessment scores. Maintaining in second grade, remember these are different cohorts of kids, that's important to keep in mind as well. And then in third grade, an upward trend over the last 3 years in terms of our outcome scores. And then perhaps a nice jump here in 4th and 5th grade. Sometimes nationwide, we see our 4th graders have struggled over time in terms of that increase in both standards rigor nationwide in all of the states. We see this trend in 4th grade of a downhill drop many times happening. So we're seeing some nice gains in 4th grade, and again in 5th grade, some really nice gains occurring over time. This is just another piece of the puzzle in terms of our adoption of our high quality instructional resource. One of those resources was Really Great Reading, which is what is supporting teachers and students with foundational skills, that science of reading, phonics-based skills. And so we just thought we'd also present to you some information from the beginning of year assessment, which is that BOP, to the middle of program, they call it, which is kind of that middle of year assessment, we saw some really nice gains in our kindergarten first and then second and third grade assessments where our students are really starting to grapple on to some of those foundational skills and gains that we're seeing in that resource as well. So last but not least, we are looking at our next steps, and we are going to continue that focus on universal practices, strengthening what that looks like in all of our buildings, K-12. At the elementary level especially, we are hoping to develop a common assessment system so we can not only look at what these screeners, because remember screening data is one dip in time on a screener versus a highly significant achievement test like a forward test, which is a comprehensive test with comprehension and writing skills and those things included. Screeners are certainly a consistent tool we have that help drive our instruction and our data point, but that common assessments of what that looks like using our high quality instructional resources and what that looks like for teachers in their everyday instruction are also critically important. So coming up with assessments that we can have collaboration around that are high leverage in alignment with our Wisconsin standards is really our goal as we work into the next couple of years. Continuing that professional development, and threaded through all of that is high connection to our standards work and what Wisconsin is asking our students to know and be able to do, and continuing to build our ability to analyze data and what to do with that data, as well as strengthen our professional learning communities, especially in our AGR schools where we have some combinations, so larger staffs, higher ability to collaborate as a professional learning community, and how are we utilizing the strengths in those teams to address the complexity, as you've heard tonight, of lagging skills, what Act 20 has asked us to do. So that is a far more comprehensive look at what we've done in the past. So we appreciate your time, attention, and patience as we work through that. But we just felt it was really critical for you to, understand the complexity of what's happening in all of our schools, because many of the things you heard about tonight aren't just happening in our AGR schools, they're happening in all of our schools. But the time and attention that goes into, really utilizing our high-quality instructional resources, some of the facets of Act 20 that were out of our control feature, but also have required us to step up our game and our teachers to really put time and effort into some really explicit skills to strengthen our students' outcome scores. And to get just a bigger, fuller picture of what life looks like in our schools and specifically our AGR schools. So that concludes our presentation. You have some more data included in your board book that you can look at, but if you have any questions, we'd be happy to do our best to answer them.
Are there questions from the board?
Just one comment. So for, I don't know how many years, I've talked about how I wish we would reduce our fourth grade AGR class size to ease that transition. And I always point out the drop in fourth grade, probably to the point where Julia rolls her eyes when she prepares this because she knows it's coming. So I think it's only fair that I acknowledge this year that drop didn't happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I don't know what that does to my theory. It probably hurts it. I still think that we should have a little easier transition there, but it's good to see that there wasn't a
great.
drop this time. So. If
Great.
it happens again next year, I'll just say
I
the
just
same thing
alluded
from
to it
before.
a little bit, Lance. I didn't point out that, but alluded to it a little bit. And that is a great thing because we have traditionally seen that. So I agree with you. Nationwide, that has been a trend too.
We would be missing something if you didn't do that every year.
Yes.
Right? It's very important. Don't apologize for the length of the presentation. This is something that we need to see. This is what boards are very interested in. Budgets, which was earlier, academia, which is now. We need to hear these types of things, and the presentations are very beneficial to all of us when we hear this. So thank you very much for putting the time together. Your team, obviously,
great
the
team.
different elementary schools, principals, and all the workers that are working hard for our students. That is our benefit, and thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
With that, I'm going to put an option in front of the board right now. There is no demand that we get through the policies tonight. We've listened to presentations that are very important to us. We could table the policies to the next meeting in the whole, committee in the whole, or we could power through. It's up to the board.
I make a motion to table.
All right, I will say I'm seeking a motion to table the policies to the next committee in the whole.
Yep, I make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Agenda item 10. As the April 2022 referendum-funded facility improvements continue to develop, the construction and budget updates will routinely be presented until projects are completely done. So with that, Bob, am I going to turn it over to you again?
Thank you. Cassie, can you scroll down a little bit so we can see the majority of the chart? Maybe, perfect, right there. We've been promising this for a month or so now.
Pull that mic a little closer to you.
Gathering all the information on referendum spending. When I was here last, before I retired, we were in the habit of seeing this same document pretty much with different numbers regularly because we were oftentimes bidding out projects. And then when we bid out the last set of 4 projects about a month ago, kind of caught me off guard and I didn't have this updated. So at the time I said, promise you I'll have this for you. So here it is tonight. And it's pretty encouraging to see after about $130 million of spending, we're still on track. We still have enough to fund the remaining projects that are out for bid. We're starting to close out some of these budget lines, which represent locations. And we still have enough protected to maybe do some of that first line that's district-wide expenses that last summer got harvested in order to provide air conditioning and HVAC improvements at both Marshall and Franklin. You might recall taking action on that, but there's still enough money left in that top line, district-wide capital improvements to still improve some of the technology infrastructure and some technology capital purchases we're gonna bring to you in the next month. If I'm gonna go by category, if you see all the closeds, I would like to promise that those numbers aren't gonna change. But there might be some slight adjustments. There might be journal entries if it's categorized wrong or in the wrong location. They could change a little bit. But what I mean by closed is the contingency that lived inside of that line has been zeroed out. Okay, we don't expect any more costs to hit any of those bold labeled closed budget lines. So it frees it up for all of the other ones. Some of the secondary schools are not closed yet, and they're not out for bid either. West High School. We're still protecting that contingency. We're protecting the mere contingency. All of our secondary schools are not labeled as closed because we still want to protect that contingency for some things that might be trickling in yet. But they're pretty close to being closed because everything's bid out and the work has been done. Then we get to the 4 that aren't closed and they're currently out for bid. The 4 of them that you saw us present on about a month ago, a couple of small ones, Rib Mountain, Lincoln, we've got them out to bid yet, and we're gonna get the bids in March, and we're gonna hopefully make what are green on that last column into orange. There will be more firm budget numbers at that point. But then there are the big 2, right? There's Marshall and Franklin yet. Those are large dollar amounts. One of them we're projecting to be about a $6.8 million project. One of them about a $5.3 million project that we're gonna be a little bit nervous for, right? For another month because we're still gathering bids. But if we look way down in the bottom, $1.7 million that's available yet, that gives us some comfort in getting those bids and also comfort in bringing to you maybe some capital purchases in the district-wide technology area that you're going to hear about in March. So this is an update. Numbers are going to change a little bit, but at this point in the game, they're not going to change as much as when I was in front of you last with this document 2.5 years ago, right? And it's fitting that we're in this beautiful space right now talking about this, because this space is one of the areas in the district and building wide that was funded with the referendum and the generosity of our taxpayers and our voting public. So with that, it doesn't require any action, but I'm certainly able to answer questions that I can answer.
Any question for Bob? No? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Greatly appreciate it. Before I close or push for a motion to adjourn, following the adjournment of the meeting, the public is welcome to join the board and administration on a tour of the recent updates to Wausau West High School and the planetarium. A quorum of the board will be present, however, no official board action will occur. I'm seeking a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much, everyone.